Hello, friends. My name is Sandhu, and I'm a CICC licensed immigration consultant based out of Ontario, Canada. Today, we will talk about the parents and grandparents sponsorship application for 2023. And as most of you would know, that based on the interest to sponsor form of 2020, so this year, IRCC has sent 24,200 invitations in the hope of receiving at least 15,000 applications, right? So without any further ado, let's dive right into it. Today's presentation. In that, I would be talking about income requirements, some of the forms and the document checklist, and some key points related to parents and grandparents sponsorship. I hope you would like this video, and if you do, please like and subscribe to the channel and share with your loved ones or friends and family. And also, I've created many other videos as well. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, what are you waiting for? So we have the parents and grandparents peer, right? So I think the first and foremost thing we should discuss is the difference between sponsor and sponsored person. This is important from the perspective of even your application, because a lot of the questions they talk about word sponsor or sponsoring, and people get confused. For example, if you are sponsoring your parents, so you are the sponsor and your parents are the sponsored person, right? So if you look at the definition, so it's a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident who is 18 years of age or older and who legally supports a member of the family class to become a permanent resident of Canada. And as I mentioned, the sponsored persons, it would be your parents or your grandparents who you are sponsoring to come to Canada on a permanent residence, right? In parents and grandparents application, one of the parent would become the principal applicant in the application, and all other their spouse or even any dependents would be all considered as dependents in a way. So key points. In this specific application, as you all know, that the income requirements is one of the major hurdles in a way. And sometimes if the sponsor is sponsoring their parents, they may not meet the income requirements based on the family size, right? In that case, your spouse, if you're married or common law partner, may be able to become the co-signer on the sponsorship application. In that case, their income would also be included. So you might be able to meet that. But it's not a requirement. As long as you're meeting your own requirement, that should be sufficient. But in any case, if you want to add your spouse, if you're not meeting that, that would be a great idea. Second thing is, if a sponsor is applying to sponsor divorced parents or grandparents, they must submit two separate applications. So they can't be on the same applications because they're like two independent people, right? Now come to the most important part, which is income requirements. This is where, there's some of the challenges are there. So what they're looking for is that income requirements for the last 3 years, right before the date of your application. Since most of you are applying and seeing this video in 2023, so it would be the income you have earned for 2022, 2021, and 2020. And it is based on the family size. So how you calculate family size? I can give you one simple example. So, for example, if you are a person and you have wife and two dependent kids, plus if you're sponsoring two of your parents, right, your mom and dad, so the total family size would be six. In that case, you will look at the income requirements would be 82,259, and for 2021 it will be 62,814, and for 2020 it would be 61,613. So this can be a little complex, but then there is also a form, which is one of the forms where when you will mention all the details, so it will automatically kind of calculate the family size, right? But the complication comes, for example, let's say you're sponsoring your parents, but your wife has already sponsored her parents in previous applications, and the sponsorship is still valid, right? In that case, the family size may change. So income requirements can increase or decrease. So since the income requirements are assessed on an year basis, right? So it can decrease or increase within the last 3 years preceding the date of receipt of the sponsorship application. For example, increase could be due to, for example, married, right? So earlier in 2022, you get married. Earlier you were single, right? So in that case, your family size would increase. And decrease can happen due to death. For example, let's say you're sponsoring a parents and the one of the parent was sick, and that person, your father or mother, let's say, passed away in 2021 or 2022, and then that will change the income requirements for that specific year and thereafter, right? So that is something you need to look at. So why this point is very important is because you are expected to maintain the income requirements for the last 3 years. Plus, you also have to make sure that at the time of processing of your application, sometimes the visa officer can still ask for latest documents as well. For example, if something like you are unemployed at the time of your application, and they might worry that you might not be able to, meet the financial obligations during the processing or after your parents become PR. So those things can arise, right? So what are family size changes during processing? So you need to inform the IRCC through the web form. And if another scenario is that if the principal applicant, let's say your father was the principal applicant and they passes away, unfortunately, so IRCC may still process the application of PR for the your mother, which is, or let's say their spouse and dependent children. And but you have to inform IRCC through the web form and attach some documents such as copy of death certificate, an updated IMM 1344 form, and an updated IMM 0008 form, right? So now let's look at the steps. So steps is first is get an invitation. Unless you get an invitation, so there's no point, applying for this kind of sponsorship application. So as I was mentioning, there were 24,200 invitations sent in 2023. And if you have lost the email address, so there is a link. So that is find your lost confirmation number. So you go there, fill up the form, and you will receive all the instructions, right? So second step is fill out the online application using the permanent residence PR portal, right? And if you're using representatives, so they will do it on your behalf. So third is pay your application fees. So fee has to be paid online and the receipt has to be attached with the application. And it includes processing fee, a right of permanent residence fee. I would say that pay that upfront, right, to avoid any delays, plus biometric fee, right? Then there are other fees that have to be paid later on. For example, medical exam or police certificate that you have to pay on your own. Then you submit your online application. So make sure you answer all the questions where you need to physically sign, you physically sign, where you have to electronically sign your application. Make sure you type your full name as shown on your passport. Include the receipt, fee receipt, upload all the supporting documents. And I think very important for you guys to understand is that make sure that you look at the document checklist very clearly and make sure you not only attach the document checklist along with the application, but also making sure that anything which is applicable has been submitted as part of the application, right? So because all in the checklist is very comprehensive, everything may not be applicable, right? For example, if you are married, you might not need to fill up the form for a common law partner, right? For instance. And then the fifth step is send additional information during processing. So you do not need to provide upfront medical exams, upfront police certificates, and that will be wastage of effort and money. So you do it at the time when they ask for it, medical exam, police certificate from all the places where you have stayed 6 months or more continuously after the age of 18, right? And biometrics they will ask, and you have to provide within 30 days of receiving the biometric instruction letter. And if you're not able to provide any of these things on time, then make sure that you send that information through the web form that this is what is happening, and you might want to add some evidence that why you were not able to submit something in time. The documents for sponsor. So I think the first thing is look at the checklist, and that has to be um, attached with the application. And then you have application to sponsor, which is IMM 1344 form. And if there's co-signer, that will also have to sign that. Then you have financial valuation for parents and grandparents sponsorship. So that is the form where you will also get information on how to calculate the family size. And there's one option there which is related to whether you give access to IRCC to get your financial information directly from CRA. If you don't check mark that, then you also have to fill another form, which is income sources for sponsorship for parents and grandparents, right? And then you have a common law union form if it's applicable. So for the sponsoring person, which is the one which we are talking about, the principal applicant, your parents. So one of the parent who act as the principal applicant, they have to fill the forms digitally, which would be generic application form IMM 0008. Schedule A background, additional family information, supplementary information, and certain forms for every person who is dependent who is 18 years of age and older. For example, their spouse, or their dependent kids. Then there are certain PDF forms, if they apply to you or your dependents, you have to upload them online. If common law, declaration of common law union, if it's applicable, details of military service, if you were in the military, details of government service, so there is a specific form that has to be added, and details of police certificate, if that is what is has to be something which is relates to you. So if you need help, you can always reach out to my number. It's 437-848-7200. I would suggest book an appointment going to my website, which is www.dilimmigration.com. And my YouTube handle is at Real Dil Sandhu, where I've created so many videos related to this subject, to immigration tips and tricks. And I think subscribing to the channel and maybe hitting the bell icon would help you get notified every time I create and upload a video. So I hope you found this useful, and thank you so much. And I wish you, your parents and grandparents, whoever you choose to have, get their PR on time. Thank you.